Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Shumai, this is Chuck Campbell with
Wayne Bledsoe, and
This is John Baker.
where's this from? Where was this one?
from Wales. This
Oh,
is how
okay.
you say Shumai if you were in South Wales more than North Wales. And almost all of them speak English, so it's kind of... But apparently they like it if you just throw any of their language at them. So next time you're out...
The French
in
tend to be
Wales.
like that, too. If you just make the attempt.
Absolutely.
Don't speak loud English very slowly.
No.
They don't like that.
No. And just
I don't like that.
Yeah, just a footnote. Everybody in Paris isn't working for your vacation. It's not Disneyland. People walking down the street are probably going to a job or something, so don't expect them to stop everything and do stuff for you, you know. And they'll be totally... I don't have problems with French people at all. I find that people who have problems with French people tend to have problems. So... Anyway, look at me dropping out already. Wayne, we're talking about instrumental music today.
John came up with this topic.
Yes, he did. John, you want to talk about instrumental music?
Sure, I listen to instrumental music a lot. I like to listen to music when I read, and if it has lyrics, my brain can't process that many words. So,
Right.
And I've just kind of explored all kinds of different instrumental music to listen to while I read. And that's kind of what got me thinking about this topic. And I just thought there's so many different categories of instrumental music to choose to listen to. And I thought we could probably fill up an hour of conversation with that easily.
Yeah, and you're right. There is that difference. That's the first thing I took note of. There is a huge difference between vocal music and instrumental music, just in that vocal music, there's a mouth, there's a voice, there's words, you know, and
There's
these
subject.
words wanting to be processed. Right, and so you kind of have to, you can eventually black it out, but it's just so much easier to use instrumental music to just kind of like, you know, back you up with whatever you're doing. There's also, I know Wayne's going to throw in here, you know, instrumental music can also be very evocative, and it can be even more evocative than vocal music, just because it's like a choose your own adventure, you know. When there are no words, there's no context of words.
You take it where your brain's
You
going.
just go wherever you want to. You know, the words, you have to work around it, you know. If a song has words and a voice, you know, it's hard to just come up with something totally different. But instrumental music, it's like you just go where you want to go.
And for the most part, I mean, there's more possibilities because
Yeah.
the vocals nearly always follow a melody. I mean, there are some people who do vocals and they don't.
Right.
But, and, you know, we were talking before we started about like instrumental hits. There used to always be instrumental hits on the radio, and there would be usually a lead instrument that would play the melody.
Oh, okay.
And
Like a horn or a guitar or
yeah, a
something.
horn or a guitar, whatever. I mean, you know, I think
Piano.
of Santo and Johnny with Sleepwalk. And,
Yeah, I love
you know,
that song.
it's great song. You can't do what they did with vocals,
Right.
but it has a melody, and you're listening to the steel guitars play the melody.
Okay.
But, you know, with instrumental music, you don't even have to have a melody if you don't want it.
No.
You can, it can almost be mathematical
Right.
Yep.
and still affect you.
Right.
So, I mean, while I love vocalists, and that's primarily what I listen to, but I listen to a lot of jazz, and I listen to...
Well, yeah, we were talking about that too. There's some
Right.
genres that are particularly oriented toward musical. I tried to look up. I searched what music genres have the highest percentage of instrumentals.
Right.
It was just blowing AI's mind. I was trying to get down, and I just did like what percentage of jazz music is
vocal.
is instrumental or vocal, and it was just kind of like, who can say? It was like really didn't even want to take a stab at it.
Yeah, there's
but
a
we
lot.
know that jazz music, classical music, very much tend to be instrumental. And then I wrote this down. It seems to me, and I'm not an expert on these genres, but like bluegrass and Americana, there's a lot more instrumentation
Yeah.
or instrumental passages in that than I can recall vocals, because you know pop is, you know, like 99% there's vocals in it.
Well,
And a
now
lot of
it's-
rock.
Now especially. I mean, it's because I looked it up. I thought, what's the last instrumental hit? It is the Harlem Shake.
Oh, okay.
2013, which there's still some like vocal sample things in there too.
Yeah.
But, when
that was just the video phenomenon.
Right.
Everybody did their Harlem Shake videos, so.
But when
that was over a decade ago.
And when you go back to the last actual instrumental hit that was just pure instrumental, it's Kenny G.
Oh, man.
And
Wow.
1986 was when Songbird came out and became a thing, which I don't like that song, but it was like, maybe Kenny G killed instrumental music.
I wouldn't doubt.
I know some people who think so.
Yeah.
But,
So that's almost 40 years with one instrumental hit that
Right.
actually had vocal samples in it.
yeah.
So,
And,
yeah.
I mean, there's a handful of scattered out, but most of them had samples of vocals
Right.
tossed in.
Well, you've got some instrumental hits. So, what kind of songs were hits
Well,
way back when?
Well, my favorite, or one of my very favorites, Classical Gas by Mason Williams, came out in 1968.
Wow.
He premiered it on the Smothers Brothers show, and after it was on the Smothers Brothers show, it took off.
Okay.
And man, it was all over the place. And now, and it's funny. It's another thing I noticed about instrumental hits is like they are used in so many movies, so many more times than vocal hits are.
Yeah. Sure.
Classical Gas. I mean, the last time I saw it was in Queen's Gambit.
Right.
And they used it really, really effectively, and it puts you in that time frame.
Well, again, it's the freedom of not having vocal and lyrical context that you can do what you want to with it. I could see why filmmakers would want to use instrumental hits because, it's not running over the plot line in any way.
Yeah. And then Apollo 100 had the song Joy, which is,
The Bach remake of that Bach,
Right.
The Joy of...
yeah, Joy of Manchester, or whatever it is. Anyway, but they use that over and over. The last place I remember seeing it was in Boogie Nights. They use it very effectively.
Okay.
And, I mean, who doesn't know, like, Booker T and the MGs, Time is Tight and Green Onions? They use them all. They're still out there all the time.
Yeah. I think
You know them. You just don't realize
Yeah, I
it.
know. It's like I know. I've heard of all of these songs, but
you would recognize Green
Yeah.
Onions within
Instantly.
2 notes.
Exactly.
It wouldn't take you any time.
Yeah,
It's
the
such
same
an
thing with
iconic song.
Yeah, same thing with Time is Tight. I mean, but there was a group. That was a group that's like, they were an instrumental group, and they had hit after hit on the charts.
They were like the first big hit that Stax had.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were the house band for Stax Records. So,
Just like the Meters in New Orleans.
yeah.
Just about the funkiest band I can think of. And they were Alan Toussaint's house band.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
And
fantastic.
they had hits. And then you had the occasional, like jazz hit or jazz song that would be a hit, like Take 5, Dave Brubeck, 1959.
yeah, I've got to say I don't remember these songs, but I mean, I immediately thought, oh well, there's In the Mood, Glenn Miller,
Right.
and what is it? Take the A Train? Is that Duke Ellington?
Yeah, it's Duke Ellington.
And the Brubeck song Take 5. It's
Right.
like, wow, I know those songs really well, and those are instrumental jazz, and they're all before I was born, so they have staying power. It's just
Yeah.
like,
You still see them used all the time.
yeah.
But but there was a time that instrumental music was probably 50% of what was played on the radio.
Right.
Back in the swing era, there were tons of things that were just instrumental.
Right.
For me, jazz music is just dinner time music because my mom always played Dave Brubeck and
Right.
Bill Evans and Miles Davis and, all the classic small combo jazz things. I can just remember the walking bass line and as a kid walking my fingers across the table in time with the bass line.
But then you had like Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, and they had tons of hits.
Oh yeah.
I just saw the movie Casino Royale the other night, and it was like I have to see the credits because it's my favorite, Herb Alpert song, and it's just like it's great.
Right. And I do know there was a vocal Take the A Train. I forgot about that. It's like I hadn't heard of it, and I found it.
It does have lyrics.
Yeah.
Well, there were vocals for nearly all those songs.
Okay. Well, I didn't remember that part, and I saw videos that had with and without a vocal. So.
Well, a lot of times what would happen is they'd have the instrumental hit, and then somebody would do a vocal. Just like you and I talked about Grazing in the Grass a while back.
Right.
And Hugh Masekela, the South African, I think it was flugelhorn he actually played. He played big, some big trumpet variation. I think it's flugelhorn. But, he had that hit, and then Friends of Distinction, like a year later, put it out with a vocal version.
Right.
And same thing with most of those swing things. It's like there were lyrics someplace, but sometimes they came after they were hits. It's like Stardust, my favorite song. That was Hoagie Carmichael wrote that tune, and then can't remember the fellow who named or who wrote the lyrics, but he wrote them afterwards. So the first versions of Stardust are instrumental.
All right.
I remember playing, my mom she doesn't have it anymore because I stole it, the Ventures album that had the theme to Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to play that all the time. I'd play it for my friends, and they're like, I love this song.
Yeah.
And it was so cool that when I started playing guitar, I immediately learned how to play that.
Yeah.
And just the Ventures in general. Walk, Don't Run is a fantastic.
Love that song.
All that surfing music, and then when you get into surfing music, you got to bring up Dick Dale.
Yeah.
And the Surfaris with Wipeout.
Yeah.
And Dick Dale got a huge boost because of Quentin Tarantino later on, long after he'd been dead.
They use it in Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
It's like, everybody then had to hear it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's like, the song The Horse by Cliff Nobles. You would know it if you don't know it by name. Da-da, da-da. It's all trumpet-based. Yeah, you got it.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Yep, I know that.
And it never goes away.
No, right.
But it's so
I
fun.
could not have told you the name of that song or who did it.
But you knew when I said
do know the song, yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, Windy and Warm by Chet Atkins. That was, I think that came out in 61, 62. But, yeah, everybody, if you don't think you know it, you do. Yeah. When you hear it, you will know that you know it.
Well, I think in that vein, I've recently been just studying up on famous recording studios, and one of the studios that I've been reading about is Sigma Sound Studio in Philadelphia. And that's where the sound Philly Soul came from, that studio. And they recorded, when they first started, American Bandstand originated in Philadelphia. And so Philadelphia had this really hot rock and roll young youth scene. But as soon as it got nationwide, Dick Clark split to L.A. and Philly was left with nothing. And the next big kind of TV show that came on was Soul Train. And
was that out of Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I wondered.
Gamble and Huff, who were the two main producers, along with a guy named Tom Bell, they approached Don Cornelius, the guy that put on Soul Train, and asked if they could do a theme song for his TV show, and they did, and it was a huge hit. And they wanted to release it as a single, but Don Cornelius was a little bit scared because he thought, if the song is a flop, I don't want it associated with the song. So he told them,
Right.
You have to name it something else. And so they named it TSOL, or TSOP, and it's True Sounds of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
But if you heard it, you'd immediately know it.
Yeah.
And it's the first television theme song that ever went to #1 on the pop charts.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I think my formative years, is for many people our age and younger and everything, would be the jazz instrumentals that were in Charlie Brown Christmas.
Vince
Guaraldi.
And there were some vocal songs on that soundtrack too, but like there's a O Tannenbaum instrumental version,
Right.
and I like that. And then Christmas Time Is Here, I definitely like the instrumental version better than the vocal version.
And
then they had like the Linus and Lucy, and was that it? Yeah, Linus and Lucy, not the other way around. The da 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 da. And Skating. I think that was another original that wasn't like an old Christmas classic, but that was a lot of jazz and a lot of instrumental.
a lot of
jazz.
kids learned about jazz.
Kids learned it, watching and thinking about Santa. And
Well, in that same vein, a lot of kids learned about classical music watching Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny, yeah.
And I was raised by music snobs. My father didn't think that anything written after 1800 was worthy of their consideration. He had no use for pop music or rock music of any kind. But when I was in the car with him, I heard a whole lot of classical music. My grandmother was on the board of directors for the symphony orchestra here for years and years and years, and she was they were big lovers of classical music. And I mean, my favorites. Beethoven is hard to beat.
Right.
He's just so dramatic and so it's so feeling oriented. Whereas you compare him to like Mozart or Bach, and they're just like mathematical precision. It's very formulaic.
That feeling that that's part of, like, for me, it's Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And each season has its own representation and its own story to tell. So it's like 4 parts. And very evocative, and you can feel the season and the different moods of that season as you go through it all. And, so that's probably my favorite classical work. Which, I mean, that may be lowbrow or whatever. But
it's funny because I realized pretty much any classical piece that is titled pastoral, I'm gonna like. Because it's always this peaceful, beautiful thing that is evocative of being out in a meadow somewhere.
Right. Yep.
And whether it's classical or not, I mean, other like artists that I've listened to will create a piece with that title. It's like, okay, I'm probably gonna like it.
Right.
Well, my dad also loved Chopin, which is French piano music, and also classical guitar. Particularly loved guitarist Andrei Segovia.
Yeah.
Widely recognized as one of the greatest classical guitar players. But then you get into modern classical stuff, and it couldn't be any more different. You listen to stuff like Philip Glass and Steve Reich. It's using orchestral instruments, but it's very repetitive, and it's very. Whenever I play Steve Reich around the house, my wife's like, "Turn that off," because it's real frenetic. It goes in cycles, and it just keeps going.
But the funny thing, I mean, I've always liked Steve Reich. It took me a little while to get used to it, and figure out, okay, you're supposed to take this slowly and let it grow on you. But when I saw him perform Music for 18 Musicians, it was amazing, the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, the music washes over you, and it changes very slowly, and it's just like, by the end of it, it's actually really emotional.
Yeah, because you have to focus your attention on it. It's changing so slowly that you have to get into a mind state to appreciate how glacial the progress of the music is. And so by the end of it, you're fully like in a trance almost.
It's a lot of instrumental music, I think, and I feel the same thing about. I'd rather go to a jazz concert or a bluegrass concert than lots of others, because it's meant to be experienced live. To me, you feel it, and I think instrumental music a lot of times it's much better if you're there in person, more so even than vocalists.
Right. Speaking of jazz, I have to talk about Exotica.
Yeah.
So, not erotica. I'm going to keep those separated in my mind forever now. But I mean, that's a form of jazz. It's a loungy form. It's very whimsical. I know that, and that's fine. It suits me fine. Martin Denny and Les Baxter, and there's a band that I discovered. There's still bands that do Exotica, which is cool. There's one called Watiki 7, and they're from Massachusetts, I believe. And I was like really big in reviewing them because they just have it. They just have that sound down. For people who maybe aren't used to it, it's very percussive with vibes and pianos, and it's got Polynesian influences and Asian influences and human-made animal sounds. It's trying to recreate like being in the tropics. It was popular in the 50s, and I use that. For me, the instrumental is the effect that it has on me. Effective. And with all the genres. And Exotica, it does two things for me, and I've talked about this before. It can either calm me down.
Right.
So if I'm in a traffic jam in Atlanta or LA or whatever, I can put something like that on, and I just like, I'm cool.
You're in your own little bubble.
I'm in my own little tiki bar, and like nobody else exists, and or it can also just enhance an already low key, like if I'm at the beach or something like that. There's no better rhythmic ambient sound to me than ocean waves, so if I had something like that accompanying the sound of ocean waves from a hotel balcony or whatever, perfect. It's just like the perfect thing for my little brain to just relax.
Do you consider Esquivel
Sure.
Exotica?
Sure, yeah.
I think some of that stuff's amazing.
Yeah.
He was an early pioneer in stereo, moving things around in the stereo field.
And Exotica lends itself to that because there's so much percussive elements and all that. So, it's nothing has to dominate. They're just...
I've wondered, I hadn't thought about it till now, but I wonder if there's any like Exotica albums like mixed in 5.1.
I bet you there are.
So that you could you get surround sound, because that would actually be perfect for that.
It would be perfect for that, yeah.
Or Dolby Atmos.
Yeah, but I've got things that are mixed, and I've got surround sound at my home theater set up, and it's like that would actually be really cool to be able to hear the birds and all the different sound effects in the background.
Yeah, because that's where the birds would be. They wouldn't be right up in the front. So that would make sense. Also, I like I've mentioned before the soundtracks that are kind of either electronic based or classical based or whatever. The horror film soundtracks, I used to buy those before I could see the movie. I was too young to see the movie, but I would buy the soundtrack. So, of course, I've talked about before Alien, which is Jerry Goldsmith, Phantasm, which is a fellow named Fred Myrow. I guess he did Soylent Green also.
Oh, huh.
And Nightmare on Elm Street, oddly enough, has some really clever passages and everything. And Halloween, John Carpenter, infamous.
See, I think John Carpenter is as good of a soundtrack composer as he is a director.
I agree. But what I did with that, it was just instrumental, so I could make it anything I wanted. I created these movies in my mind. They were never actually the movie, but it's like I had movies in my mind before I saw the movie.
Were there ever any instances where the movie in your mind was better than the movie in actuality?
I would say, yeah, I think so. I think some of the lesser... I've got some other like horror films that the soundtracks were better than the movie. Alien was a great soundtrack, but it was a great movie. So, it's like I wanted to say, and like Phantasm was like a small indie movie. Maybe doesn't hold up as well because of special effects advancements and everything. And that soundtrack was really creative. So,
it's interesting because we had recently, it's not Goblin, who did the music for some Italian horror films like Suspiria. And Goblin comes and performs. I can't remember what the main fella's name is, but they will perform the music live while they show the movie.
Oh, cool!
Which that would be particularly cool.
Yeah. There was I've mentioned this before too, but the Bram Stoker's Dracula movie. I've found I think it was Hungarian orchestra that was performing the soundtrack, and they were just performing the soundtrack. It's just a YouTube video.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, this is like even more dynamic because you're seeing the people play, and there might be a little glitch here or there or something, and it just made it even.
The jazz guitarist Bill Frisell has done that a lot.
Yeah, and Mark Ribot, both of them.
Yeah.
I saw Mark Ribot. Of course, Mark Ribot's most normally known for electric guitar and this real discordant, really,
spastic
kind of these real bracing sounds. And he played simple acoustic blues guitar for The Kid, the Charlie Chaplin movie from I think 19.
I heard that was great.
It was terrific. It was just so subtle and so pretty. And this is like you're hearing this guy that you expect like this really loud brash stuff from, and he was every bit as good playing that as he was his normal stuff.
Did you see what's the name of the band? Not Galaxy, but the subsequent one of that. Oh man! But they did the music to Andy Warhol's test films of actors that he would just.
Oh, and I can't hear you thinking about you were talking about either. But
what's the name of that band? Oh man, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. But it was the same. Well, and I think kind of related to Exotica,
right?
Some dub reggae is mostly instrumental. They may have little vocal segments, vocal samples that get echoed and stuff. And one of the
how is that different from dance hall? Is that dance hall?
No, I don't think it's the same thing.
Okay.
Dance hall is more, it's more upbeat. Dub reggae is where they got the multi-track tapes and they would just pull parts out and randomly bring stuff in and echo things over and over. And one of the main practitioners of that is Augustus Pablo and another guy named King Tubby. But Augustus Pablo, if you listen to him, he plays a melodica, which is like
I love that.
It's a keyboard, but you blow through it, and it sounds like a harmonica. Yeah. But if you've got if you're a good keyboard player, it's a great instrument.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of leads into down tempo music.
Yeah.
Which is I listen to down tempo music to read all the time, and some of my favorites of those are The Orb. I don't know if you've ever heard The Orb.
Yep.
Boards of Canada. Nightmares on Wax. Been listening to a bunch of Nightmares on Wax lately. Really good stuff. There's a band called the Peace Orchestra. Another two guys named Kruder and Dorfmeister. They're obviously German.
Yeah.
But it's really good, kind of funky,
Yeah.
textured. But there's no vocals, and you can read, and you can do whatever you want to do, or play cards and have a conversation. But you can kind of nod your head along.
I like you having the options. You know, you got the option to put it wherever you need it in your brain. So you can be like cleaning house, or you can be talking with friends, or you can just be listening to that music. And
it doesn't demand your attention, but it rewards it.
It rewards it, right?
Yeah, I've mentioned them before. My favorite band along those lines is Amina, this Icelandic group that started out as all women. They got a guy come in later, and they did some vocals later. But their best album, Kerr, is all instrumental, and it's like bowed saws and harps and bells and all sorts of different things.
What's it called?
Amina, A-M.
What's the album?
A Kerr, K-U-R-R, which is named for the sound that they say the birds make in Iceland.
Okay. You wouldn't believe how, not to go on a tangent, but how different countries say a rooster sounds. You know?
Oh, really?
It's just we've got the cock-a-doodle-doo, which isn't what a rooster sounds like.
Same with dogs.
Yeah.
Here they say bark,
Right.
And they're like, no, they say aff.
What was the little spinning wheel with the toy? The cow says, and we think the cow says moo.
See and say.
Yeah. So, anyway, just a footnote.
It's interesting. No, I want to hear. I want to hear what you say that the different cultures get the rooster sound.
Well, I can't even do it right now, but it's like
Okay.
they literally like, and I was just thinking of the cow and cats. I mean, everything. It's almost like different languages,
Right?
Like a different idea of what the animal sounds like, and it's just weird because most of what we say isn't really true.
No, okay, cats don't really sound like meow.
No, they don't.
But
They sound like row.
yeah, I mean, of course, it depends on the cow, the cat, or the cow either.
Yeah.
Well, moo is pretty close with cows. I can't imagine they would have too many variations.
Maybe it doesn't
on
start
that.
with a though.
Yeah.
It's just kind of anyway.
Yeah, actually, you did that very well, Chuck.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's
Previous life.
I think that's a good thing. I mean, going beyond what is popular and hits, that there's so much stuff out there that you can choose from, and you can tailor what you want to hear in instrumental music.
Right. One of my key genres, of course, especially with this, is electronic music.
Right.
I've talked about it many times, and it's interesting when you had like remixes of songs and B-sides and all that. And I think that probably first grew to great popularity during the disco era,
Right.
to have like extended versions of songs and all that on every song, and it was kind of finessed and over the years and into the 80s when electronic music was really taking hold, they would take more liberties with songs, and they would do, like, in the past, I'm not interested in like a big pop hit, the instrumental version, when it's strictly the voices are stripped out.
Right.
It's like, that doesn't do anything for me. But if you do something different with it,
Right.
and that's something that the better electronic bands did. So, like, a good example is New Order. They had a song called Blue Monday, and the lead singer, Bernard Summer, he did, how does it feel to treat me like you do? Da, 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 da. Anyway, and it sounds like a song about betrayal and breaking up and all that stuff. Well, their instrumental remake of that song, they just called it something else. They called it The Beach. And there's a line in Blue Monday when he talks about, I'm going down to the beach and don't fall. Anyway, it's an even darker but more aggressive song, and it just has a whole different story to tell. And it doesn't have any of his lyrics or any of his vocals, to tie it down. And I have heard that song and just played out. And this is what I do, especially with the electronic songs. I can just play out in my mind some kind of story that's going on. And The Beach is one of those. There was another Of course, Front 242, I talk
Right.
about them a lot. Belgian group. They had a song called Master Hit. I think it actually first in 1987. They re-released that album in 92, and that's really when I came on board. But Master Hit was remixed and remixed and remixed. And it has, with the vocalist, Jean-Luc Demeyer, it has like a S&M kind of feel to it. It's sort of vague, and vague lyrics are great because vague lyrics
Right.
still give you freedom to do what you want to with it. But then they did one of their instrumental remixes was one called Hypno Mix, and it just starts with just like an American vocal, and it just like an announcer. It just starts with "The reality was very different," and then it just like comes in. It's the same song,
Right.
but it's just rearranged so much and so much more aggressive, and it sounds like aliens and dinosaurs and space flight and just like this whole. And I used to listen to that Hypno Mix song, even though I loved Master Hit. I would listen to that like when I was traveling or anything, especially if I was traveling in Europe somewhere. There's others. There's Lords of Acid, of course.
I can't imagine listening to Lords of Acid
Without the woman,
lyrics.
right?
Come
right.
on.
Well, they've got a song called. They've got their own. It's not the Who's Acid Queen, but they got a song called Acid Queen, and it's the woman. And there's vocals in it, but it's just spoken
Right.
text that I'm not even sure is part of their song. But it starts out with the guy goes, "I want you to give me a show." And then she comes back with, "I'll give you a show. I'll give you a show." And then it just sounds like some kind. How did I say it? A menacing sex show where the floor is electrified, so everyone's being shocked all the way through, and it's just this twisting kind of song, and it's just like. Again, they're not. It's not them talking. They're just like moaning and screaming and yelling at each other. And I think at one point she's going, "Peg it, peg it."
Oh, my God.
So,
You talk about the things I'm not supposed to say.
I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? And then I'd throw one more out there, a more recent one, DJ Destructo. He had a song called "Higher," which was all instrumental except. There's and I think it's a vocal sample from Grandmaster Melly Mel, but it may just be him doing it. And that's from the song White Lines, Don't Do It.
Right.
He's going, "Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby." So that's all you get is "Get higher, baby." And then when I hear this song, I don't know why, but I just picture like a giant arena, like a Hunger Games gladiator type thing where the doors all fly open and they have to go out and kill each other. So like every time there's a chorus, it's like they open it again. There are more people going out. And it's like, I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but I can open myself that wide open for a song that doesn't have any lyrical, cues. So, and that's what happens. I beat myself up all the time on this show. So I like saying that I have a great imagination. I have a very vivid imagination with no drugs or no alcohol influence. I just my mind can just go somewhere, and instrumental music will take it there.
Most of the time, these places you're going, I don't want to go.
No, I don't want to go either. I don't have a choice, but I'm there.
Well, you brought up something when you were talking about, these bands that had instrumental things when they're normally vocal bands.
Right.
That's something that's gone on forever, too, because we were talking about this before you got here, when John and I were just talking about it. The Beach Boys. Everything is vocal, but, two of the songs on Pet Sounds are instrumentals, including the title cut.
Okay.
Mamas and Papas would put instrumental songs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And sometimes it would be
Such a great vocal band.
I know, but John Phillips was a good composer too, and he would, throw these little things out there every once in a while. The Smiths, Oscillate Wildly. It's like, here's a band from the punk era that's like you just don't expect it.
Right.
House Martins, which are the precursor to the Beautiful South, they'd always have instrumentals on their albums. It's like I like it when these bands known for vocals throw something out there that you don't expect, and it's like, okay, where are the lyrics? It's like, no
lyrics. You
but
make it up.
But it still is effective. It makes its point.
Right.
And Janis Joplin's album, the reason there's an instrumental on Pearl is because she didn't get to do the vocals, but man, it's great. There's been plenty of times I've just pulled that one track out and listened to
I
that.
think I would like an instrumental Janis Joplin. That voice is too much for me. I've said that before.
Well, we've mentioned it, but we haven't really delved in deeply into ambient music.
Right.
And I think that term gets thrown around a lot, and there's a lot of variation as to what is and what is not ambient music. It was first attributed to the British musician Brian Eno.
Right.
And his his first so-called ambient music was called discrete music.
Right, which I love.
It's fantastic. He apparently had broken his leg and was bedbound, and someone brought him, I think it was Paco Bell's Canon on vinyl, and he struggled up and got it on the turntable and collapsed back into bed and put it on and collapsed back into bed, and he realized that the volume was turned way down.
Oh no!
But he could hear it, but it was not, front of mind, and he just didn't have the strength to get up and change it, and he just got into a different mind state with that volume turned down, and he's just a great ideas guy.
Right. Yeah.
But there's so many great.
Well, ambient too, like you said, it came to mean other things, and then people started equating it to new age and songs where you hear, wind chimes and stuff like that, which
and
which is ambient in a way, but it's certainly
but the idea
a lighter version.
I mean, I think if it has a beat, it's not, I don't think it's ambient if it has a beat. Like it's down tempo or something like that. Right. But I mean, like I don't know if you've ever heard, there's a band out of Austin called Stars of the Lid. Mm-hmm. They've put out 4 or 5 records, and they sound like they're directly influenced in the same line of progress as Brian Eno. Okay. And then another band from Texas, Explosions in the Sky. Yeah. They do have a beat, and I'll say that, but it's this real, it's almost like the ocean. It's like their stuff builds up to a crest, and then it comes back down.
I love that.
It builds up to a crest.
I love the ocean.
If the beat is slow enough, it's kind of like the Melvins, You watch Del Crover play the drums, it's like, if you can it out in your head, man, he's right on it. But, if you just hear the beat like every 30 seconds, that's still pretty ambient.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and there's lots and lots of ambient music out there, and I think most of it, well, I've called it like sonic wallpaper.
Yeah.
Pretty apt description, I think.
Yeah. And like wallpaper, some of it's
you can
good
look at
some
it.
of it's awful.
Yeah, you can look at it and pay attention.
Some of it's just, out of sight, out of mind, and some of it's right in your face.
Well, what's funny is, what used to be what would be called ambient music was Muzak.
Yeah.
That they used to have, people don't know this anymore because...
That's a good point, because that's like where
they take up
bastardized every hit song ever made. Even terrible songs sounded even worse.
And they made it so boring that you wanted to pull your hair out.
Yeah, I think we have to call it elevator music now because there are other people doing it, and Muzak doesn't want to take all the blame.
I do remember though when my grandmother died, and we just went to get stuff from her house, and she had one of those old console stereos, and there was a box set in the middle of it, and it was like the many moods of the Ralph Jackson Orchestra. And it was just like this, I think it was a Reader's Digest box set, and like each album had like, in a fun mood, in a mellow mood, in a sad mood, and whatever. And so I took it home. I was like, this is, and I don't think she ever played them. I mean, they are in absolutely pristine shape on really good vinyl, and it's actually really soothing music.
Really?
Yeah. It's horrifically Muzak, but it's really good.
Well, you can go on YouTube and they have 8 hours of original Muzak.
Yeah.
Or they have 8 hours or however many hours of Kmart, the music that they played at Kmart, including...
They played music at Kmart?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the thing, is every store you went into back then, just about... you would hear this music in the background that wasn't inspiring me to buy anything, but it was like, God almighty.
Target tried that, and I don't know if they're still doing it, but it's like I remember...
I can't believe Target's still in business.
A few years ago, well, this is a few years ago, going in there and like, music's playing. It was like Friday night. It was kind of dance music. Like, when did they start? I'm used to it at grocery stores.
Right.
They play it at grocery stores, and it's usually 20-year-old hits, so the older we get, the newer the hits get.
Yeah.
But... I'm not used to that in other, other shopping experiences, and Target just pulled out and started trying that.
Well, when I worked at McDonald's in 1980,
oh God,
I remember I was scrubbing the floor and they had Muzak on there or whatever and I'm scrubbing along, and I can't remember which Jimi Hendrix song it was that I heard, but it was like they're playing it in Muzak,
right? And
I'm thinking, this is over.
Right.
I heard One Toke Over the Line Muzak version.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty good.
Well,
we talked about that. Lawrence Welk did it.
I remember hearing it elevators. That's a good place for it. I mean, they
Right.
call it elevator music.
Right.
In public places, I guess malls, and if you still have malls where you are, we got one that's doing well here, but every now and then you'll hear they did something kind of not bad with it,
Well, now, I mean, I remember the first place I heard it was like Daryl's restaurant back in the it would have been the later 80s probably.
Yeah.
But they started making specific like musical mixes.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, some boring orchestra playing, the song in the most boring way. They were just like putting together very specific mixes.
Okay.
For this restaurant, and it was all stuff that was really good.
Okay.
And I think that changed. I mean, you had that,
Right.
and then I don't hear music in stores that much anymore, or restaurants are really even. But that was kind of cool, and some places still do it.
The last store I went in that had great music was Big Lots.
Big Lots has music?
Well, I don't know if there's even a Big Lots in Knoxville anymore, but it used to be. I remember going in there and hearing like Badfinger Day After Day and the Raspberries Go All the Way, and it was like we were on like Jangle Pop Station. I was like, I'm going to shop here forever. Wow. Can I just move in? I'm just going to lay down on this bed here.
Yeah.
This secondhand bed with a ripped sheet on it.
Discounted though.
Yeah,
Probably
it's
about
really
80% off. Yeah.
Well, while we're on bad things, I was thinking, what is the first really instrumental pop song that I remember?
Okay.
And then it got in my head, and I couldn't get it out. And I absolutely have hated it ever since I was a small child.
Okay.
Alley Cat by the band, or the performer Bent Fabric. It's just a piano. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, it's like a stripper
yeah.
song, isn't it, or something?
I don't know. No, that's not the stripper song. This is like
The Hokey Pokey or something.
it was. Oh God, it's awful. And when I was in elementary school, they played it all the time for different things that the kids were supposed to do.
At the school?
Well, yeah, they would like,
Okay.
like in music class or whatever, they would put on, the old record player, and they would put on Alley Cat.
Oh, wow.
And you were supposed to do dance moves or whatever.
Oh, and you hated dance.
And
Did you always hate dance?
I always hated dancing. But it was just like, this is the most maddening, simplistic, horrible thing I can imagine. And you couldn't get away from it in the 1960s.
And that was a radio hit, huh?
It was a radio hit in
Okay.
like 1962.
Okay.
And from there on
And you
out,
remember, you were still just a pup. What were you, like 2?
6.
that was 2 when that came out. But
6.
But I mean,
16.
throughout my elementary school years, you would hear Alley Cat used for all this stuff
Wow.
at school, and it was like,
Well, I missed that, so.
We've made it this far without mentioning Yakety Sax.
oh yeah, well,
That's a pretty great one. That's good for comedy.
Yakety, that's not Yakety Yak, right?
No.
Okay.
The
But actually-
yeah,
it's Boots Randolph.
It's Boots Randolph.
but I think Boots Randolph was actually inspired by Yakety Yak to write Yakety Sax.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, that's the Benny Hill show used Yakety Sax forever.
Oh. At the end?
When he's like running really fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just like it became the standard thing to stick on something when there was like,
Something silly going on.
yeah, and it was they put it in fast motion.
Yeah. That was just
Like Steve, Rowan and Martin's Laughing probably used it a bunch.
It's
I can't remember if they did it or
highly-
not. Maybe.
Benny Hill's endings were highly inappropriate. When he just running around grabbing women's clothes off and
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's totally.
Oh, hilarious! Yeah,
But the Brits loved it.
yeah. The Brits have a very wicked, nasty sense of humor. It's funny.
We have not made any mention yet of krautrock.
Oh, I love krautrock.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that music with like Can and Neu and Tangerine Dream, Kraftwerk, they had some vocals, but they had long sections of instrumental, just kind of, I mean, like Can they were just kind of a jam band, but it was not like a jam band like you vision it now. It's like they were playing these weird atonal things.
And a lot of times and it's funny, we haven't really said it, we sort of mentioned that, but there's like, sometimes vocals aren't really I mean, they're just instrumental.
No, yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, like, in
Elements.
Kraftwerk, the song numbers, it's just different voices counting. And
Or Audubon.
Trans-Europe Express, and the only line is Trans-Europe Express.
Well, the same thing with Audubon. Audubon.
Yeah, Audubon, yeah.
Bon, bon, bon. Well, and the same could be said for Sigur Rós, because they just made up their own language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with my people Dead Can Dance, because she has a made-up language. It's like,
Right.
does that count as vocals when it's not words?
Well, it's
I think
vocals,
it's
but it's not words.
beautiful
not lyrics.
vocals, yeah.
I think it counts as vocals when the vocals are giving you an emotional
Cute.
hit somewhere.
Yeah.
But, Kraftwerk. I mean,
No,
Audubon is just...
it was just another electronic instrument. It
Right.
was just yeah.
Well, I just want to mention a band that's played here in Knoxville a couple of times at our Big Ears Festival that draws straight from krautrock, and it's a band from Baltimore called the Horse Lords. The guitar player is like heavily modified his guitar. He's moved some of the frets around so that they don't make they're slightly sharp or flat. And like he's filed the frets so that part of the fret is partly sharp and the other one's in tune. So like half the strings are in tune and half are slightly out of tune. And it's real repetitive. It's no vocals. Check out the Horse Lords. It's good stuff.
Well, there are a lot of people who adapt musical instruments, like Fred Firth.
Yeah.
It's like John Case used to call it prepared instruments. Like, you would take a piano and sabotage some of the hammers in the piano.
Yeah.
Make things sound differently.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the band Buke and Gase?
No.
It's a duo, husband and wife duo, and one of them plays a really modified ukulele that's got all kinds of electronics and pickups, and they run it through all kinds of effects. And the other one's got a bass that's also, it's got like some high strings added onto it. It's been heavily modified and all through effects and everything. And one of them plays a bass drum with his foot, and she plays tambourines on the side. It's Buke and Gase, Buke and Gase. They've played at Big Ears.
Huh. Well, another thing is we used to everybody knew great instrumentalists. I mean, you'd have the class from the classical world. I mean, the Itzhak Perlmans and the people like that were just like household names, kind of. And I don't think you have much of that anymore. I mean, in the bluegrass world, like
Sure.
everybody are stars
Right.
that play instruments. Like, I mean, everybody like in the band Newgrass Revival was a star in their own right. Bela Fleck went on and created the Flecktones and did different things, but now I don't hear people talk about great instrumentalists. Leo Kottke, who's one of my very favorites, just
he's
played
great.
here at the Bijou Theater, and I think that was the first just purely instrumental album I ever bought. Was one of his albums that was nothing but guitar. He sang every once in a while, just like Chet Atkins did, but he's mostly
He
known.
always said his voice sounded like a wet fart.
It was goose farts on a muggy day.
Yikes.
But, well, Chet Atkins used to say, "Yeah." I mean, this is what he told me. He told everybody this. I sing a little bit, but not enough to hurt my career. But I mean, I have Tommy Emmanuel, who is another one of the greatest guitarists I've ever seen. He sings some too, but mostly you're just watching what an incredible instrumentalist he is. But I mean, we know Hendrix because of his instrumentals, even though he was a vocalist too. Mm-hmm. But and then all the jazz guys, John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, all those folks, you knew them. I mean, people knew their names, even sometimes if they couldn't identify one of their songs.
Yeah. True that.
Anyway,
Well, should I go into my weird tangent that's only...
go into your weird
Sort of.
tangent, Chuck.
You got something else, John?
No.
Okay.
Something might come up, but
Okay. Well, so when I lived in Florida, there was a little town called there still is a little town called Casadega, inland, about between Daytona Beach and Orlando, off I-4, and it's called the psychic capital of the world. And they formed a spiritualist camp there, and so. Basically, it's like, I don't know, like 6 blocks of a small inland town of psychics. They live at every house. Mm-hmm. And you know, I was skeptical, but I was like open to just all of it
Right.
for a while there. And so I was, you know, and I would go there. They have like a few little gift shops, and they have new age. They have CDs to help you with these things. They have books of witchcraft spells, and candles, and gemstones, and all of these things, and just stones, and all of runes. Anyway, they have all these things. I was open to all these things. I was interested in it, anything metaphysical or anything like that. And I got into like they sell CDs now, but so they're only 20 years behind. But I got into like some cassettes and everything. And somehow I started like getting into lucid dreams, okay? And controlling your dreams. And there, and I'm not going to get through this. There's no way I can get through this.
All right.
I know. I'm just listening to myself and thinking, "Good Lord!" But anyway, so and they have like there was a instructional tapes and everything, and they would always have this ambient music, or they would have like a spoken intro, and then it would go off into this music, and you were supposed to think about what they told you and stuff like that. And as far as lucid dreams go, it's the feeling of controlling your dream while you're sleeping. I don't know if you guys have done this. You're asleep, and you know you're asleep, but you have total control to do anything you want when you're asleep.
I've tried that, and I can't do it.
Well, some of the tips they have to get you where you can trigger yourself to realize you're sleeping, one of them is like reading signs and then looking away and reading them again. And so for a while there, I would, for months or a couple of years, I don't even know how long it took, you know, I just like read a sign and say Casadega 25 miles. I look away and look back, it says Casadega 25 miles. Because in your sleep, the sign never says the same thing again. And a lot of times the words are jumbled and all of that. So if you condition yourself to do that when you're awake, when you're asleep, you might do it in your dream. And this is what happened to me. I dreamed that I was in the theater lobby, maybe in Port Orange, Florida, or something like that. Maybe back in Knoxville. I don't know. It didn't matter. But and I looked and I saw. I was in the lobby and I looked and I saw a poster for a movie, just a paper poster for a movie coming up. I looked away and looked back, and it had changed. I was like, "Oh my God! I'm asleep. I can do anything I want." And so I ran out of the theater and out into the parking lot, and I just started flying. And I got so excited that I was flying away from the parking lot that I woke up. But at least so. Anyway, I also got into astral projection, which I mean,
Because of course.
yeah, because and it's like, you know, all of this was just sampling something different. You know, my friends I worked with, we would go and have psychic readings, and that was like a whole other world too. But astral projection, I specifically remember the music that came with this, and what you would do is you would lie on your back and just listen to the instructions, and like you imagine all the energy in your body, and it's all gathered like in the center of your body, and you start sending it down out your limbs. So it goes down your arms, down your shoulders, down your legs, and then down out your feet and out your hands, to where all of this energy just flows out of you. And then you start imagining yourself rising, levitating from your body, right? And then it's just music from then on. So they just kind of leave you like, am I levitating? You know, what's going on?
How do you get back in?
Well, I know. I mean, you just take your chances, right? But so I went through this astral projection thing, and I was like picturing myself coming out of my body, and I thought, wait, let me get this right. Astral projection is just controlling your lucid dreams. And it was like, and I got excited. Like I had this realization that you're just like controlling a dream. And I woke up, you know, but I imagine, you know, I was laying on my living room floor, and I would do that occasionally, and I would float up, you know, I mean, it didn't last. I don't do these things anymore, but it was just having Casadega so nearby and people just trying different things. And it was always attached to the new age music and the instrumental music. And I think that's because that just opens something in your brain to be more receptive to oddness and different things.
You discorporated.
Okay.
I have something related to kind of add to that.
Okay.
So I've been a fairly regular meditator for
Yeah.
several years.
Sure.
Helps keep me calm.
Yep.
Helps keep me
Yep.
feeling like I am in control of some of my emotional, whatever's going on. And in the process of this, I've discovered this device. It's called the Muse. And it is an electronic thing you wear on your forehead.
Okay.
The original one looks like a pair of glasses, but it's got some kind of sensors in the front of it.
Sensors, okay.
But then they made one called the Muse S, and S is for sleep, and it adds a whole section, separate section that helps you. It almost does a sleep study for you.
Yeah.
And it's a headband, and that's the one I have. But Muse has all kinds of programs that you can do for your meditation. You tell it how long you want to meditate for and all of this. And it's measuring your brain waves. Mm-hmm. And it tells you, it puts a graph out of all your alpha waves and your theta waves and your delta waves and shows how they're spiking and and if you get into a really calm state and you hold it for a certain amount of time, you hear birds chirp in your headphones. Yeah. And so at the end of it, it tells you how many birds tells you how many birds you got and how many recoveries you got. You know, like if your brain drifts off and you bring it back, that's a recovery and you get credit for that. And it's a fascinating thing, and it kind of turbocharges that's biofeedback.
Right.
If your brain is reacting to feedback it's getting, then you're training your brain, and it turbocharges your meditation. I think it's fascinating.
Well, and that's what all this stuff is about, and about the three people, not the Kierkegaard, but the three people that you are, you're the person in your body right now looking at everyone else. And then you can also imagine, like I can imagine I'm you, Wayne, or you, John, looking at me in context of this room. And then there's a third me that's like up in the corner of the room looking down and seeing the whole picture of what's going on. So I didn't expect us to go this far.
Interesting.
But it's I think it is tied to music and what music can do.
A lot of the programs on the Muse are ambient music.
Right.
I mean, and the different levels of things are the different brain waves. And it's changing
those brain waves. It's very important
with your brain.
Which brain waves you're at as to what you're... It's the same thing in your sleep, where your brain waves at, and whether you're, in REM sleep or the deep sleep, I think stage 4 or whatever, where you're just completely out. So... got any more instrumental songs, Wayne?
I think the corporate overlords are about to take over your brains, both of you.
That's okay. I may want that. I need an escape. Exotica's not escaping me anymore. So.
Well, this is when my girlfriend and I did mushrooms that time, and it was like that's one of the things she said. She said, I've left my body. I miss my body. And I'm like, you're in your body. And it's like, no, I'm outside my body. Right. And it's like, nope, I'm looking at you. You're here.
She was astral projecting.
And she was. But it was like, with me, it was like, I see faces of people looking in the windows. I know they're not real, but, this is what I'm getting out of this.
Right. You just got to kind of let go and just, follow instructions and...
I don't follow instructions well.
No, you don't.
No, I never have. You know that.
But we're easy to manipulate, and it comes from not even music, but just like natural. Like I was saying about ocean waves, that's like the ultimate. Homemade music for me. That's why I hated going to the Gulf Coast. People always say, go to the Gulf Coast of Florida. It's like, no way. It's just a big lake. There's no sound. I need that churn. The ebb and flow and all.
Yeah, that or a creek. I mean, the ocean or a creek,
moving
really
water.
Nice. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like listening to the sounds in nature. I mean, we talked about this before. I don't like to listen to music when I'm outside.
Right.
Because I want to hear what's going on. I mean, unfortunately, in the winter when I go out in my backyard, I hear the interstate because
not many birds or anything out in the winter.
In the summer, when you've got that baffle of all the trees and stuff, I mean, one of my all-time favorite sounds in the world is listening to the trees rustle before a storm.
I love that. Yeah. Before a storm, yes.
Right.
Yes, and I live on the lake, and there's like a big stand of trees at a park across the lake from me, and it's to the west. And that most storms and everything fronts come from the west. So I can hear it in the trees across the lake, and I know it's coming. I can watch it come across the water. Another sound I love, I may have mentioned this before, but it's when you're underwater and it's raining and you can hear the raindrops hitting the surface of the water. I could just do that until, I had to come back for air.
Go ahead.
As someone who has had a gigantic oak tree fall through the middle of my house, and as there are still some really big trees around my house, I do like the sound of wind in the trees, but not that much.
Not
It makes
not
me nervous.
bracing wind, right?
Well, when
Gentle breeze.
When you're talking about the rain on under the water, when you're hearing that, my very favorite thing I think in the world is listening to snow hit snow.
Oh God, I don't know that sound.
Go out sometime when it's snowing, and that's the thing is snow is so good at muffling everything else.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're out there and you've got a good snowstorm going on, you hear the sound of the snow hitting the snow. It's just this.
Like landing on the snow.
It's like a little. Pff.
Yeah, it's just this.
We get one snow like that a year.
Oh, I know.
Basically.
Yeah, I know.
But it's this.
So you got to move fast.
But it's this barely audible sound that you can only hear when the snow is already on the ground, and it's muffled everything
That
else.
sounds cool.
Yeah,
I got a favorite sound.
What?
I made a recording of my now passed cat Mo, who was a champion purrer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
great sound.
I just made a 45-minute recording of him purring.
Yeah.
And I put it in the background I just sometimes just listen to it, but it's so relaxing. And then I also got him purring and licking himself, which is also makes a lot of noise, but it's a cool sound.
That used to drive Sarah crazy. I had a dog that would lick herself in the middle of the night, drive her nuts. She could not sleep for it.
You can't stop it.
I know. It's like, what are you going to do?
Dog's got to do what a dog's got to do. Well, we kind of left the instruments behind.
Well, we're still talking about sounds.
Right. Well, I think we're already up to recommendations now.
Okay. Well,
Unless you got something you got to bring out here.
no, I'm ready.
John and I kind of went metaphysical on you there for a bit.
Well, you know me. I'm not spiritual. I'm not religious or spiritual.
I like knowing what people believe and just knowing what's out there and there is stuff we don't know.
Oh yeah, I totally believe that.
I don't believe anyone who thinks they have all the answers because I don't
Yeah.
buy that from
Oh,
anybody.
I agree with that.
From anywhere. But
We just got 5 piddling little senses. I mean,
Yeah.
there's stuff going on. We just don't have the sensory array to detect.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't. I mean, we don't know what dimensions are out there and how many dimensions there are and all that stuff. So,
Well, at least you know it's possible. So.
yeah, it's. I just don't. I just don't. I'm not one that believes in supernatural stuff. I think everything has an explanation, and we just don't know enough
Right.
to explain it.
Well, I'm just I don't have any money on it. I'm not betting on it. It's like, I don't know, but I'll hear what anyone has to say.
But it's just like you said, just when you're saying, "Oh, I realize this is actually lucid dreaming,"
Right.
as opposed to me actually leaving my body.
Right.
There are people who actually believe they've left their body.
Well, it feels like you are.
Right,
You
but
know?
but you
But
see
it's
an
just
explanation for
yeah,
it.
Yeah, when you're dreaming and you're controlling your dream, it's basically writing a story, and
Yeah.
anything can happen in the story because you're making it up yourself.
Well, I have those, I have lucid dreams, but I can't control what's going on, and
Right.
usually somebody's trying to kill me.
You can, if you know you're dreaming and you're aware of it, do you not try to control it or stop it? Because you can do anything.
I mean, when I have those sleep paralysis demons,
Oh God, okay.
I can't. You can't control. You can't move most of the time. You finally break through, and you
that's
do.
worse.
The last time it happened, I was like, I couldn't control my mouth, but I kept telling Sarah to wake me up. I was like,
Oh my God.
and finally
Wow.
she shook me, and it was like that's what I needed because I knew it was a dream, but I couldn't control what was going on other than to try to wake up.
Okay.
It's like that Cheech and Chong bit about Dave's not here.
Man.
No, man, it's me, Dave.
All right. Okay. I'm going to make a recommendation.
All right, let's
and
do
I've
it.
changed my recommendation because he is somebody that was an instrumentalist, Richard Trithall, who was originally from Knoxville, but he moved from Knoxville years and years and years ago. He's died a couple of years ago. He went on to started the music program, or was over the music program at the University of Rome. But he recorded an album called Out of Bounds, which was all his original compositions. He was a great composer. And it's a beautiful album. All of the albums that I've heard by him, all the pieces I've heard are really, really good. But that one is particularly special. There's a song on it called Insieme, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Italian for together.
Okay.
How do you spell his last name?
Trythall, Richard Trithall. And he started out making avant-garde music and doing tape cut-ups and things like that, and got some acclaim for that. But then he started composing this instrumental music, and then he recorded an album of Jelly Roll Morton songs, and he was a great artist. We lost him a couple of years ago, but he is one of my favorite people to put on as an instrumentalist and just let it play. And you pay attention if you want. There's something there, and if you don't want to pay attention, it'll just lull you to sleep. It's beautiful stuff.
That's great.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I've been doing a lot of research about famous recording studios and producers and all of that, and that's one of the studios that I read about was Massimo Studio in New Orleans, and Alan Toussaint, who was one of the producers there. And so I started listening to some Alan Toussaint music, and his fourth record, Life, Love, and Faith, it's from 1972. The backing musicians are the Meters. It's really funky. But his piano playing is so fluid and so amazing, and his voice is just really tasteful. He writes great chord progressions. It's not predictable. It keeps it interesting, but it's from 1972, which is also right in the middle of my favorite era of recording. I love recordings from the early 70s. Right. They just sound great. So Alan Toussaint, Life, Love, and Faith.
All right. So I've got a little something about Kate Bush here, and it's something new from Kate Bush.
Okay, all right.
Back in the early 80s, I bought my own first collector's thing that I'd ever bought, other than just an album or a single. And it was a box set of her singles for the first 3 or 4 albums. It was called The Singles. Right. And it was expensive. It took me a couple of years before I could buy it. I bought it Cats down on Kingston Pike.
I used to work at Cats. I used to work at Cats.
Did you? Okay.
For years.
Maybe bought it from you. I don't know.
Was it the one on the Strip?
No, it was West Knoxville.
Out in West. I didn't work at that Strip.
Okay. But anyway, so one thing about Kate Bush is she's never been shy about when she's creating a new album, doing lots of extras and B-sides and stuff like that with it. And she did something that 4 or 5 years ago, they released something called The Other Sides. And it was 4 albums and 40 songs of all these extra songs that she had done, cover songs and stuff like that. And I think it slipped by unnoticed and too expensive and all that. So now she's released in September 22nd, she released something called The Best of the Other Sides. And it's one album. And it's got a lot of great songs on there. It's got one of my favorites is Experiment Number 4, which is about working as a scientist, and they're asking you to create a sound. The Army wants them to create a sound that can kill someone, and these scientists don't want to do it, But anyway, that's a really kind of spooky song. She has a cover of Rocket Man. She does it as a reggae song, and some people named it. Yeah, I saw it was named one of the best cover songs in Britain, ever. Which is interesting because I'm not that fan of Rocket Man anyway. She has a beautiful one that Wayne you might even like, The Man I Love, which is for a tribute album to Ira and George Gershwin. Okay. And it's just straight ahead, like a lounge song from a tribute album. There's a real emotional Under the Ivy. There's an Irish song on there. She also did Brazil. She did a song to be the theme song for Brazil. But then he decided, Terry Gilliam decided he just wanted it to be an instrumental. But they saved her song. I think it may play in the credits, perhaps. That song's called Brazil, Sam Lowry's First Stream.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe they put it in there.
It's First Stream.
He used
the song to accompany that.
He used the Jeff and Maria Moldauer version of Brazil.
Okay.
At some point in there, because that was I think that was somehow inspired him. That was on an album called Pottery Pie, but yeah.
And of course, there's a 12-inch version of Running Up That Hill, since that became such a popular thing for, I guess, millennials and maybe
ever since
Gen
Stranger
Z.
Things.
Yeah, for the past few years ago. Anyway, it's a nice collection, and it shows kind of her range and diversity, and it doesn't have the cohesion of one album with all the thought that she puts in it, but it just shows a bunch of sides to her people don't know about.
Cool.
And again, it's the best of the other sides. It's not the other sides, which is just like a mountain of music.
Right. Okay. Well, for a movie, I want to recommend the original Cape Fear from 1962.
Okay. Oh, 62. Good Lord.
Yeah, I know. It's
Who is the bad guy there?
Robert Mitchum,
Oh, okay.
who is like he played two of the baddest bad guys ever. Because I've recommended Night of the Hunter before, which I actually like a little bit better, but it's a little bit spacier and a little bit more surreal in places. But Cape Fear is, and I think the original is so much better than the remake that Martin Scorsese did with Robert De Niro and Juliette Lewis.
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte. But Gregory Peck is the lawyer who had defended Robert Mitchum and did not do the job he was supposed to do by getting him off because he knew he was guilty. And Robert Mitchum realizes that he basically threw the court case and is coming back to terrorize his family.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of the most suspenseful movies of all time. It had Polly Bergen as his wife, who was Polly Bergen's from Knoxville. And I can't remember who plays the daughter, who was like about 12 in this, 12 to 13 at the most. Juliette Lewis, who's about 14 to 15 in the Scorsese one, plays her in the newer version. And the only thing I can say that is probably better in the newer version is when she meets the would-be killer
Right.
in the school. Like that scene between them is probably better than the scene where Robert Mitchum is terrorizing the young girl in this. But this movie, watching Robert Mitchum be just so scary and dominating.
Right.
I mean, there's nobody that's been a better villain that I can think of.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it is really scary, really suspenseful, and there's just not a bad thing about it. So anyway, Cape Fear, 1962. They showed on TCM a lot.
Yeah.
But you can find it.
Yeah, I've seen it because I thought it was the one that came out
No.
in my lifetime, and it's like, oh, this is like an old movie. It's like, so.
It's way better. You ought to
Okay.
check it out.
It's in color, though.
Nope, it's in black and white, and it's much more believable. There's something in the newer one. You can stop listening if you don't want to give this
Spoiler
part
alert
away.
for
Spoiler alert here.
The new/old movie.
The newer one where Robert De Niro gets to where they're going, Cape Fear, by hanging underneath a
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah, that's the one thing that stands out to me most of that movie, and not in a good way.
Yeah, and that was just it's just stupid. He
Yeah.
couldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done that. But Robert Mitchum doesn't do that in the original. He's just scary.
All right.
All right, I found a movie last night, and it actually really kind of moved me. It was really good. It's on YouTube, and it's called Up to Snuff. It's from 2018, and it's a biography of Snuffy Walden, who, as you know him because you know he's a composer of television and movie theme music.
Yep.
But his whole start was he's a guitar player, and he was in a band called Stray Dog, and they were produced by some member of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They toured with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and they were bluesy, long-haired, hard rock, and they in the 70s, and they lived that lifestyle. And Snuffy about drank himself to death.
Huh.
And finally someone confronted him, and he just stopped drinking and never had a drink again the rest of his life. And he went back to L.A. He's from L.A. Mm-hmm. He went back to L.A. and played in some other people's bands, and he stayed sober. He's still alive. But then he got a call from, I'm trying to remember who it was, Herskowitz and Zwick, the producers of 30-something.
Okay.
And they asked him to do the soundtrack work for 30-something. And it's all acoustic guitar. It's really intimate, in your face. And this was in the late 80s, and back when it was, big band themes, right. And, Dallas and, all these big, huge things. And 30-something was a revolutionary show in its time, because it was just about these 3 or 4 different couples going through little problems in life that happen when you're 30 years old. And it just skyrocketed him to much, much, much more work. And apparently everyone in the music industry that knows him just loves him. They're just like, he is the sweetest, most positive, most good. He did 30-something. He did The Wonder Years. He did Ellen. He did My So-Called Life. He did Friday Night Lights, but most notably, he did the theme music to The West Wing. And the music to The West Wing is fantastic. And they play all, bits of all of this in this movie. But it's called Up to Snuff, 2018, and it's just a great movie about redemption and about change in your life. He just never thought he would do these, TV theme song. He wasn't even
right.
I mean, he basically said, they asked him if he would compose music for 30-something, and he said, I'd never composed music for anything before, but I said, yeah, I'll do it. And he said, I was scared to death, and they loved what I did, and it just changed my whole life.
Huh.
And it's really good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, have you guys heard of the history of sound?
It's playing, and I couldn't really figure out what it was about.
Well, I don't know how to explain it to you exactly, but that's what I saw, and I'm going to recommend it. It's directed by Oliver Hermanus, and it stars Paul Mescal as a fellow named Lionel, and Josh O'Connor is another guy named David. And Lionel is the main character. And the opening monologue is he's talking about music and how he can feel music and he can taste music. He says like a B minor is bitter.
So he has synesthesia.
Yeah, synesthesia. And
Synesthesia.
Synesthesia? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that too. All these things.
I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But anyway, so he's, has a natural inclination toward music and all this stuff. And he's this fellow, this is the Lionel guy, the Paul Mescal. He's really the main character. And he's in Kentucky. He's like his family, his mom and dad, and I think his grandfather, they have like a little farm and they're kind of in poverty, but it's not desperate poverty or anything like that. Any of the triggers that you expect in a movie, especially this is 1917, you expect everything to be all these pointers in the story, and they're not there. And it really is about music. That's a huge, big part of it. Huh. But Lionel goes to the New England Conservatory of Music to study music because they know, his family knows and everything, that he's got a special gift. And he goes, and while he's there, he's at a bar or something with his classmates, and the David guy, he's playing the piano, and he plays this old folk song that Lionel recognized from Kentucky. He was actually singing it earlier in the movie. And so he goes over, and these two guys, they just hit it off, and they're like soulmates, and they're both like really deep in music, and they spend the whole night and into the morning talking about music. Then they have, I don't even know if it's a relationship or what, but they have sex. Mm-hmm. And it's just so kind of matter of fact. It's not particularly explicit or anything like that. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But so that's a short part of the movie is they have they're exploring music together and all that stuff. And it's classified as a romance musical, which is bizarre because there wasn't that much romance. It's more about this Lionel guy and his life and his destiny and everything. But the other guy, David, has to go off to war. World War I starts, I guess it was. Right. And Lionel, because he wears glasses, he doesn't have to go. So he just goes back to Kentucky, back to the farm. And there's a lot of hardships and his parents and his grandfather. But he continues to be interested in music and everything. And then like a few years later, David calls him out of the blue and says he's been commissioned by, I don't think it's the conservatory, but another music college or something up there, to go and gather folk songs in rural Maine in the middle of winter. And he says, pack up, you're coming with me. You're going to help me carry the equipment and record all these people and everything. And he goes up there and, and they're camping out in winter in Maine and all that, but they're going around. And the beauty of it is really the music, because they're just sitting down with people and folk people and everything, and they're recording on cylinders. Mm-hmm, they're recording them singing these folk songs and everything, and then they leave and their little fling or whatever is reignited, and there's a bond between the two of them, and it's more of a soulmates bond. Like I said, it's not any typical romance, and it's certainly not a typical gay love story, because there are no homophobes. There's none of that. No, society's not telling them anything. It's just this byproduct of their relationship overall. But then David just ghosts him. He's like writing letters to David and everything. He's not hearing back from him. And a few years go by, and Lionel goes to Europe, and he becomes successful as a singer and a music director in Italy, and then he moves to Britain. But he's always got this void because this guy just stopped talking to him, and they had like this bond. Right. And so he's committed to finding out what happened. And it's been criticized for being too restrained. It's kind of like from Brokeback Mountain, the Heath Ledger character. Right. There is a restraint there, but it's not a self-hating thing. Right. I don't know how to explain it because it's not like there's no melodrama in it at all. It's very matter of fact, but it's very gentle too. So it's kind of interesting. And then he's on a mission to find out. It really reminds me more of Past Lives, the movie that we like, about what would have happened if, what would have happened if they had stayed in touch and all that stuff, and how would his life be different. And, and he's wondering what happened to the cylinders because, he reached out to the school and they didn't know what he was talking about. And so there are a lot of questions left. And then the resolution is, I don't know. It's just very interesting, and he becomes a musicologist and everything. Right. But it's a great story. It's hard to explain.
Is this a new movie?
Yeah, it's a new movie. I saw it Downtown West.
Oh, so it's in the theaters
Yeah,
now.
Last week. So it's probably not going to be in the theaters when this comes out because it's a little indie movie.
Well, but the thing, indie movies, we get the indie movies actually pretty quick.
Yeah,
they will like go around the country, so it may be showing other places.
It could be in a theater, or it could be, I'm sure it'll be on streaming. It's got, it has a lot of praise, but there are people who've nicked it because it didn't deliver the expected. There was no homophobic villain, There was no. You don't even know whether to define it as an actual relationship they have, and it was really about their bond over music and everything, and what his life could have been, and what his life was in Kentucky and all that. But it's kind of a simple movie, but
it sounds like I'd like it.
I think you'll like the music parts, especially.
Yeah, well, I like restrained movies. I mean, that's,
yeah, it is. It's like there's just there's a lot of emotion there, but it's just not like meted out in big dramatic scenes or anything.
Yeah,
it
sounds like
than that.
Jim Jarmusch movies, where it's like you just basically, you really just like these characters and want to spend time with them.
Yep. But anyway, that's the history of sound.
Okay. Cool.
All right. We've rambled in a very strange way, and when John and I touched base on metaphysics, and Wayne scoffed. And
I didn't scoff.
You got what? Dream paralysis, which is terrifying.
It's sleep paralysis.
Sleep
demons.
Paralysis. Yes. So we'll help. We're going to go try to help Wayne get over that. And,
we're going to tie him up in the closet with extension cords.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to tie me up with
Lords
extension cords. It's like because you can't move. You're paralyzed.
Oh, that's what happens to me in dreams. It's like the theme is usually that someone's chasing me and I cannot. I'm just like
just can't move.
I can kind of move, but I can't move nearly fast enough.
Well, see, I'm not running. I'm having to fight.
Oh, wow.
Which is scary for whoever's in bed with me.
I'm
so
sure.
Poor Sarah.
Yeah. I think my worst dreams are I just get into like darkness and I can't talk or see or be seen by anybody. It's not paralysis, but it's just like being somewhere. I keep dreaming about the same place. I wanted to like map it out because it's almost like a whole city with all these different elements of places I've been. Anyway, we'll be back next week.
Send us an email.
Talk about dreams. You can send us an email if you want us to stop talking about this kind of stuff, or if you want us.
You could astral project us.
You could astral project. Yes, astral project us at howweheardit@gmail.com, and we'll be talking about something else next week. And goodbye.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, movies, art, culture, whatever it is that's on their mind. How We Heard It was recorded at the Arbor Studio in Knoxville, Tennessee by me, John Baker. How We Heard It is a Cozy Planet production. If listening to this podcast has given you a burning sensation, then we recommend you sit in a hot tub until your symptoms fade away. If you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, or even me, you can send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. So thank you for listening, and come on back and we'll have another episode for you next week.